Hey, it's Drybear. We finally have official confirmation that GSC is releasing a patch, and you may be excited and or disappointed depending on what you're looking for in the game first. We've also got a bunch of other news to talk about today as well, some discussions in the community about what's going on with Stalker 2, and some revelations about the mod community and the mods of Anomaly coming back to improve Stalker 2 as well. First, let's talk about the first official post from GSC since they launched. So they say, hello, we just had the game come out a couple days ago, and we're excited for all the feedback that we've been receiving. However, we are going to be working and releasing our first new patch this week. So as of today, this week, the first patch will be coming out. This is what's going to be in the patch specifically. Crash fixes, including issues in memory allocation failures, cause game to crash or exit unexpectedly, particularly around rendering, skeletal meshes, and quest-related scenes. So hopefully a lot of crashes get addressed with this patch specifically. It's a #1 thing. I would say in general, performance and stability need to be like really high up there, aside from design and other flaw features, because like if the game crashes, it doesn't matter how good or bad you think the game is, it's unplayable. So they're going to get some bunch of crash fixes in this week for the game as well. Main quest progression fixes, including bugs blocking the main quest progression. I've had many bugs where markers would disappear entirely, quest NPCs would forget what part of the quest they were on, and they wouldn't talk to me, or I would show up where I needed to be and the enemies weren't there. So hopefully they're fixing a whole bunch of those with this patch this week. Revision of the main quest, like the Visions of Truth or a minor incident, to ensure smooth transitions. More of what I was just talking about, of just like weird situations where it takes you out of the immersion of the game because of that not working. Gameplay and balance adjustments, fixing the price of weapons with upgrades installed compared to the value without attachments. It's very possible that this part right here is what we're looking for when we're fixing the price of repairing items. It's possible it was a bug that all weapons were being repaired as if they were fully upgraded, and that's why they're so ridiculously high in price, but we'll have to see once that goes out if that is actually the case. NPC behavior, including the way they act when lacking a shelter during the mission, cutscenes and visual fixes, visual inconsistencies, detached heads. There's that guy peeing in the encampment that isn't actually peeing, he just has pee coming out of him. Soft lock fixes include you're unable to close the trade screen, or windows get stuck open, that sort of thing. User interface improvements, quest notifications, corrected text, missing interaction points, and of course this will be addressed in future updates, and this is probably the biggest bummer for a lot of people. The analog stick dead zone bug fix will not be in this patch this week, and the A-Life system bug fixes will not be in that this week. And I know a lot of people are really hoping to get those this week, but the dead zone stick drift issue is not being addressed right away, and the A-Life system bugs are not being addressed right away as well. So let me know what you think about this. Obviously, they're one team, and they have things that they need to prioritize and focus on, and possibly many of these things may be difficult to handle. As an ex-developer, I can tell you that there are situations where there's a very serious bug that has no repro, and what that means is that, you know, QA or anyone on the dev team can't actually reproduce the bug, which means that we can see that it happens, we have evidence that it's happening, but we can't get the conditions that are required to trigger the bug to happen, and so it becomes impossible to solve. No engineer, no programmer, no developer can go in and fix that if there's no way to reproduce the bug inside of a developer environment, because then they can't see what's going wrong. And that hopefully isn't the case with some of these bugs. I know they said they're working on a fix for the dead zone stick drift. They're adding new options for the dead zone sensitivity settings, as well as working on issues with the A-Life system 2.0, which is a big point of contention for the community. Now, there is actually evidence in the code that people have been able to pull out from the shipping version of the game showing that A-Life 2.0 is there, and there are actually a lot of logical statements and code around the NPCs, enemies, and groups having very complex AI behavior existing outside of the immediate player. And it's possible that this either wasn't in a stable state, there was some critical issue with it, or it just didn't end up shipping the way it was supposed to. Now, GSC maintains that the A-Life 2.0 has been just a buggy mess, and they're trying to fix it. Some people are saying that A-Life 2.0 doesn't even exist. They don't see any evidence that the groups of NPCs are moving outside of the player's sphere of influence influence and attacking each other and invading things. They're just spawning randomly. There's tons of evidence of enemies just spawning around the corner, trying to like flood in on you with no real realism in the situation at all. But let me know what you think about A-Life 2.0, and if you're on the camp of someone who really needs this in the game and is super disappointed that it hasn't existed yet. In fact, we even have confirmation that right now it only throws NPCs around you. It doesn't properly simulate how everyone in the zone is fighting for living space, migrating, capturing new safe spaces, retreating to safer areas, reacting to emissions. At the moment, you can't really sense the progress in NPC actions due to different bugs damaging the system work. So direct from their mouth, they're saying that right now it is just doing NPC spawning, that A-Life 2.0 is not actually doing anything due to different bugs damaging the systems that should be working right now. So they're saying that once they fix the bugs, it's going to be online. There's even someone who has been digging into the core of the A-Life 2.0 code and has a very lengthy post going over all of the variables, the functions inside of them, how they interact with each other. His summation and estimation is that it's more of a scenario builder. It's not an actually true simulation that is simulating life in the zone. So if you want to link to this, I'll put this down below if you want to read through all this and just look at the discussion on what A-Life 2.0 is doing right now. And even someone who has been looking at the code that is in the shipping version of the game, their main takeaway from this is that the devs are adamant that A-Life 2.0 is real, just very broken. And as I've said in prior threads discussing A-Life, I am inclined to believe them. However, as said before, if it's there, we don't have access, and if it's present, it's most likely not working. So right now, we're just going on the dev's word that A-Life 2.0 is there. The things that are available for data mining in the shipping version of the game, which may have hidden packages that you can't access as part of that, encrypting, that sort of thing, especially in Unreal, some packages may be completely hidden, that sort of thing. So of what's been viewable, it is a scenario builder, not a simulation. But on this front, the devs are telling us that, hey, it's there, it's just completely broken. We're hoping to fix it very soon. Now, those are kind of the more prominent discussions right now, but there's still a whole bunch of discussion individually around some minor items, things like the mutants in the game having too much HP. Now, again, I'm someone who really is enjoying Stalker 2. There's only a couple gripes that I have with the game, one of them being the visual effects for the game, which I'll go over in another video. But in this case, I think the game I'm actually having a fun time with. I actually haven't felt this kind of atmosphere in a game in a very long time. Many times when I go outside and I'm wandering through the zone, just the music, the sound, the atmosphere, the visual effects, the storm systems, all of them just makes me feel very uneasy as I'm moving away through the zone, which is something that, you really did capture with the original Stalker games and even games like Chornobyl that have that same kind of vibe. And I think in this case, it really feels like that. Most of the things that they're addressing are hopefully going to just make the game better and better over time and will make it better as things go on. But a lot of people have talked about the mutants themselves being too tanky overall. Some of this is related to the weapon you're using and how accurate you are, because you can actually burn them down relatively quickly, but there's also a question on whether the mileage varies depending on situation. I've seen clips of people shooting at like a burger or a bloodsucker or any one of the regular mutants and had gone through like 6, 7, 8 magazines of ammunition and still didn't kill it. So I have to wonder if this is actually a bug versus something that's intended, is something else going on? And I think that's kind of leading to a lot of confusion right now, where some people are just experiencing faults in the game, bugs that are making things worse, that are making things a little bit more unplayable in many cases, and we're not sure if it's intended by the developers or just breaking down right in front of us. Now, despite all of these issues, both on Xbox, Game Pass, and PC, the game still sits after 28,000 reviews at 78% on Steam, which is outstanding considering how many problems they've had with their launch overall. Especially considering how political this game is as well. I've seen many people talk about the war in Ukraine, how the developers should be helping in the war instead of making video games. You see tons of comments about people fighting over the war and all the political stationing, and even these images, which whether or not they're true is a big question, but there are these images that are in Russian by default, that are these Russian people on Telegram messaging folks, paying them them to negatively review the game on Steam so that it fails, paying them rubles to make sure that the Ukrainian game fails. And I think there's just so much going around on the game that you would expect it to be a complete negative talk show, but on this front, it still seems to be holding a decent score. But of course, let me know what you think about Stalker 2, where it sits right now. If you're having a great time like me and really enjoying the game and the atmosphere, and you're just enjoying the ride, if you're someone who uninstalled the game and completely just gave up on it because it's just unplayable, if you're on console and you can't get over the dead zone issues, the stick drift issues, or if you're just generally having performance issues making the game completely unplayable from your perspective, let me know where you sit down below and kind of just like look at this conversation, because this is going to be an ongoing thing for this game that a lot of people love or love to hate. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.